Will eventually clear away towards the east as we go later on, with something sunnier, clearer following in behind, but a scattering of showers pushing in across parts of Northern Ireland. Plenty more showers to come as we go through the end of the week, and watch out, we could see some particularly wet and windy weather on Saturday. See you later.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good evening, this is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. Expect delays on the A90 southbound at Teeling due to a road incident. The M6 in Warrington is fully closed southbound due to a broken down vehicle, with normal traffic anticipated between 7:15 and 7:30 this evening. The A5 northbound junction with the A488 in Shropshire reports a load spillage, resulting in one lane closure, with normal conditions expected between 9:45 and 10 this evening. Congestion affects the M1 northbound between junction 8 and 11 near Luton, with delays up to 2 hours. And on the trains, disruptions affect East Midlands Railway between Kettering and Leicester. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
It's the final week to see how you could win your mortgage or rent paid for a whole year. That's a cash lump sum equivalent to 12 of your monthly mortgage or rent payments, right up to a whopping £20,000. Plus, we'll add an extra £5,000 on top for good measure. Make sure you don't miss out as lines close on the 29th of August. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB15 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Miriam, you can't be serious. Scrapping the triple lock on state pensions? Madness.
Andrew, we just can't carry on pretending. The numbers just don't add up. We've got to be honest with people. We've got to face the facts. That's what people want.
Well, that's what you get on GB News and on Britain's Newsroom. Lively debates, lively conversation.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first, and we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's News Channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
only on GB News.
But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
only on GB News.
Hello, good evening. It's 6 o'clock and you're watching Dawn Neeson in for the lovely Michelle Dewberry on Jubes and Co this evening. Cracking show for you. Coming up tonight, Reform UK launch Operation Restoring Justice with plans for mass deportations, which could also include children. But will it work? And the government's Islamophobia definition could cause social unrest if Labour push ahead. Do you agree with that one? Plus, a record 6.5 million Brits are now on unemployment benefits. Are we too soft on the definition of mental health conditions when it comes to welfare, though? And President Trump says flag burners will face prosecution. Meanwhile, in Britain, councils and people continue to tear down those Union flags and cross St George. Is it time to get tough on flag desecrators? And a brilliant panel for you tonight. I've got Alex Dean, political consultant, and Sebastian Salek, Labour councillor for Waltham Forest. But first, let's get the news headlines with Cameron Walker.
Dawn, thank you. Good evening. It is 6:01. I'm Cameron Walker in the GB newsroom. And in some breaking news, 64 people have been formally charged under the Terrorism Act for allegedly showing support for the prescribed group Palestine Action. All those charged were initially arrested in central London on 2 separate Saturdays last month. If found guilty, they could face up to 6 months in prison. They are expected in court in October. Meanwhile, Nigel Farage has unveiled Reform UK's plans to deport all small boat migrants, warning migration now poses a genuine threat to public order.
Today we launch Operation Restoring Justice. And as far as the people of this country is concerned, frankly, these measures can't come soon enough.
He says only mass deportations and a ban on asylum claims for illegal arrivals will restore trust. Speaking earlier, the Reform leader accused successive governments of failing the public and said outdated treaties must be scrapped.
The only way we will stop the boats is by detaining and deporting absolutely anyone that comes via that route. And if we do that, the boats will stop coming within days. If you come to the UK illegally, you will be detained and deported and never, ever allowed to stay, period.
But the Conservative leader, Kemi Badenoch, has accused Reform of reheating and recycling Tory plans on immigration.
Nigel Farage is copying our homework. We put out a deportation bill in May. The stuff that actually works and what he said has come from there. But the truth is, he is not doing the thinking, we are. And just like we've seen with the Labour government, who didn't do their thinking in opposition, there'll be a disaster in government, and in particular, a disaster on the economy.
Well, the Reform leader also pledged to pull Britain out of key international agreements, including the European Convention on Human Rights. Well, earlier, Housing Minister Matthew Pennycook told us the Labour government would welcome discussions about changing how the ECHR operates, but would not scrap it.
We don't think it's in our national interest to withdraw completely, put ourselves in the same camp as 2 other countries, Russia and Belarus. But that is not to say that we don't think the convention needs reform. We're making the case for reform in Europe. The Justice Secretary was at the Council of Europe in June doing just that. And we are looking about how the convention is implemented domestically.
And finally, Sir Andy Murray has officially become the patron of a charity set up in the aftermath of the Dunblane massacre. The Dunblane Centre said it marks the first patronage since the star, since he retired from professional tennis last year. The charity was established after the shooting at Dunblane Primary School in 1996, where the tennis star was a pupil. A gunman shot and killed 16 pupils and their teacher in the gym hall before turning the gun on himself. Sir Andy says he is proud to be joining the team. Well, those are the latest GB News headlines for now. I'm Cameron Walker. More in an hour.
Thank you very much, Cameron. Sterling job being done there. OK, welcome to Jubes and Co with me, Dawn Neeson. Joining me until 7 o'clock. Wonderful panel for you tonight. Alex Dean, political consultant, and Sebastian Salek, Labour councillor for Waltham Forest. Lots of you already getting in touch about Sebastian on the panel. I'll read some out later, but not at the moment. OK, now...
Not me, though.
Not... Actually, Alex, now you come to mention it, there was one, but we'll definitely get to that one.
Right.
As always, this show is about you, so get your comments coming in at gbnews.com/your say. I'll read as many out as I possibly can. Now, unlike everyone else today, we're not kicking off with Nigel Farage. We are starting on Islamophobia, because this is quite a scary story. Warning today, Britain risks facing social unrest if Labour persists with plans to create a formal definition of Islamophobia. The head of advocacy group Tell Mama has warned that if Sir Keir Starmer's government does push ahead with the move, it could deepen perceptions of a two-tier society. Now, we hear that phrase a lot, two-tier society, don't we? This one, though, sounds like it could actually be rather scary. Let's come to you first on this one, Sebastian. Now, this is a warning from someone who has dealt with this all their life. Tell Mama it's a very important thing. And this is his warning. He's saying if Labour push ahead with this, there will be civil unrest. It's too divisive. What do you make of it?
Well, I'm not saying necessarily that the charity is warning of civil unrest, but they are registering their concerns. Let's be clear about that. They're also saying, or have said recently, that this is now the most dangerous time to be a Muslim in the UK, and they've shared statistics that Islamophobic assaults surged by 73% in 2024 to a record high. So clearly there is an issue. Clearly Muslims are being unfairly treated in this country and are suffering abuse that they should not be suffering. Now, this is a separate discussion. This is about a non-statutory definition of Islamophobia. So we're not talking about changing the law. We're not talking about limiting what anyone can say, but it's about raising awareness of all the ways that Muslims sadly suffer discrimination in the country.
OK, why do we need a definition of Islamophobia? The point of this piece that we're reading today, Alex, is that it's going to be more divisive. It's going to... Why do Muslims... This is Faisal Mughal talking. Why do Muslims need special treatment?
They don't. And I think the risk, notwithstanding what's just been said, is that we get a blasphemy law for one faith alone by accident. I didn't, no doubt, of good intentions. But I've got a more specific problem with this, and I think the Labour Party's got itself in a real pickle, well, entirely by their own design. You will recall this comes off the back of Labour saying they would address this in the election campaign. So, you know, on the one view, they're doing what they said they would do. But because they'd signed up to a definition of Islamophobia when they were in opposition, and that definition would make phrases like Asian grooming gangs unlawful, right? It would say that was racist. Well, if that's right, this government also commissioned the Casey Review. And
yes,
Lady Casey said in her review into child sexual exploitation that our police had ignored racial associations in child group abuse. And, of course, we're now going to have a public inquiry into it. And she said you have to address the issue of ethnicity in child sex abuse. Well, this government, on the one hand, has commissioned a review which says the issue of child sex abuse by ethnic groups is very important and we've got to talk about it, and looks like it's going to sign up to a definition of Islamophobia which will say you can't.
Sebastian, it would make literally me talking about... I live in Tower Hamlets, right? I see little girls wearing hijabs playing in... Well, not playing in the park. They're not allowed to play in the park. They've got to sit there being good little girls. This, in theory, could make me saying, oh, why can't the little girls go and play with their brothers, Islamophobic. If this comes in, that very different... It leads to any criticism of Islam potentially being dangerous.
Well, it doesn't, because, once again, it's not changing the law.
It's not statutory, but people will... We do know that judges and police forces will interpret it as being Islamophobic.
We have to be allowed to criticise in this country. That is really important. And there is a balancing act to be had. But we don't know, because we don't know what the definition is. So once it comes through, let's have that debate properly and see if we think they've struck the balance right. But there is a balance to be struck, because I don't want free speech to be curtailed. And that's why I'm reassured that this is non-statutory, that this isn't going to change the law. It isn't going to change what we can and can't say. It's just about raising awareness of these lower-level forms of discrimination. It's things like if you're a Muslim in the workplace and you don't go out drinking with your colleague because you don't drink alcohol, and then you are discriminated against off the back of that. Those are the sorts of things that we don't necessarily see, those of us who drink and who do like to go out with colleagues, and we should be talking about those things, because nobody should be discriminated on that basis.
The trouble is, once you've got the framework, the fact that it doesn't have teeth is no longer reassuring, it's the problem. And people will say, oh, this doesn't have teeth, it doesn't go far enough. We've got now to give it power. It now needs to be on a statutory basis. It should be a criminal offence. Because otherwise, what's the point of being able to say that person is Islamophobic and we can't do anything about it? Or to put it more plainly, if you're going to create these rules, what are they for, if not for enforcing? Good
question. What are they for? What is the point of this, then? It doesn't have teeth, it's not statutory. So, you know, your example about, you know, not going to the pub because you're a Muslim and your workmate's taking the mickey out of you, why do we need to make that officially Islamophobic?
I've said it already, and I'll say it again. It's about raising awareness, and these aren't my words. This comes from the Islamophobia Response Unit, which is an Islamic charity, who want to shine a light on these forms of discrimination. I'll come back on Alex's point as well about the next steps and where this might lead. Entirely speculative. We don't know at all. It's really baseless to say that. The other thing I would raise is that we do rightly... baseless. We do rightly have a definition of anti-Semitism in this country, which both Labour and the Tories signed up to. And I think we need some parity here with Islamophobia as well. Both are terrible afflictions in our society. Both need to be stamped out. Both need clear language around them.
It doesn't give you pause that Tell Mama, which exists to monitor anti-Muslim hate incidents, says this is a bad idea. Doesn't even make you think maybe not.
They are in the minority on this. The Muslim Council of Britain says it's a good idea. The Islamophobia Response Unit says it's a good idea. Many other Islamic charities do as well. So one outlier does not a theme make, I'm afraid.
Do you think, Alex, that this could be the start of a slippery slope? And do you think the way this could be, if it comes, obviously it's speculative, we don't know, but if it is, it could be interpreted wrongly by the judiciary and by police forces?
If you wanted to identify the slippery slope, you need a rear-view mirror, not speculating on what's coming. We've already gone well down that path. In fact, I would say in some ways, good news for society, we've gone past peak racist. There was a time when if you called someone a racist, if they were alleged to be racially motivated about something, that was them done. The public space, they were no longer. It doesn't work anymore, but in part because we're all told we're all far right all the time, and it just doesn't. If everyone's far right, then nobody's far right, right? And the people protesting outside of asylum hotels, who tell them they're far right, they say, if you think that, I don't care. I'm standing up for my community. So that doesn't really wash. What this is, in some ways, is a backward step. It's a backward step on the fact we've already progressed past saying you're not allowed to say these naughty, hurty words about these groups, and if you do, you're the one that's in trouble, no matter what they've done.
Once again, it's about raising awareness of the issue. It's about making sure that these smaller instances of Islamophobia don't go unnoticed.
What do you do about it? This is the problem, Sebastian. OK, we're raising awareness of it. We are aware of it as it is, but what do you do about it?
I'll give you an example. If you are an employer, you run a business and you're running training for your colleagues, you may want to draw attention to the example I gave you earlier, or of the fact that sometimes if you have a woman in a hijab, for example, she may not be included in a promotional photo for the company. That's another example.
That's discrimination. There are workplace laws against that.
Yes, that's true, but it still happens, and it's about training so we can avoid it happening in the first place.
This isn't going to make any difference.
I'm talking about preemptive action here.
Is this going to make any difference, Alex? We already have criminal laws and employment laws to stop that sort of thing.
But by the time it's happened, it's too late.
And on the case that Sebastian's making, it's actually a dilution of the bright line between permissible and impermissible. The state should tell you to do few things, and they should be absolutes. And the rest of the time, we should be free to do as we wish. Instead, you're starting to enter into a world where the state says, unless we've explicitly permitted something, it's banned. And that's not the way that society... That's quite continental, but that's not really how British common law has always been. I mean, to put it another way, should the fact that I don't care about their Islamophobia definition be considered Islamophobic? Perhaps on their definition it would be.
I just don't think that's relevant at all. If you're an employer and you want to know the definition of Islamophobia so you can help to educate your employees on it, it's helpful to have a central definition that you can draw from. You don't have to do it. The state isn't telling you to do anything. You're not being forced to do anything.
You've gone from a position which justified taking action because of supposedly terrible, grievous things being visited upon Muslims. You were putting it really at the criminal standard. Now down to perhaps HR could be a bit nicer, right? And then we need the state to intervene for this faith and this faith alone, right? Not for any other faith, not for Christians, not for Hindus, not for Buddhists.
For Jews, do you think it's right that we have a definition of anti-Semitism?
Well, I'm comfortable with our definition of anti-Semitism.
Do you think it's right that we have a definition?
In society. I would rather we didn't have any of these.
So you wouldn't want a definition of anti-Semitism?
I just answered your question. I'd rather
no, you didn't.
I'd rather we didn't have any of them. But if we are going down this path, why do you want to pursue a path in which there is one just for this Islamic situation and not for other mainstream faiths?
I'm not ruling anything out.
You want one for Christianity now, you want one for Hindus, and you want employers to do it, because you say it's for employers now. You want
that's one example I gave, yes. Let's not twist what I'm saying. I'm giving one example of employers where it could be useful and, crucially, not forced upon anybody.
So, Sebastian, that's pretty much the only example you got. Baroness Casey, she herself said that, basically, this Islamophobia ruling could make discussion about grooming gangs even harder than it was. We know that there was all sorts of issues there. People were frightened of being called Islamophobic discussing those grooming gangs. Something like this is going to make that even harder.
Well, it depends what the definition is. I don't want to have that discussion be made harder. I think it's important that we have difficult discussions, even if it feels like we might be being racist.
Do you think the UK is sort of uniquely enlightened? Because on the parallel that you think justifies your position, the anti-Semitism definition, we accepted an international standard. Do you think the UK's got to fly the flag for Islamophobia or fighting it?
Well, all I'm saying is that we have already breached this. It's not new that we have definitions for individual forms of discrimination on religious and cultural
grounds. We relied on an international
standard.
Why do you think the UK, to protect Islam alone, and not protect Islamic people from crimes, that's already in law, to protect them from hurt feelings or protect them from microaggressions, as you were describing them, you think we need to do that just for people within the Islamic community and Britain alone? Well, why and why? Why Islam alone and why the UK alone?
I just said not for Islam alone, but 7 out of 10 people who are Muslim say that they have faced discrimination in the workplace. I don't think that's acceptable. I would like more clarity around what Islamophobia pertains to and what it entails,
I should think currently,
so that we can have that discussion more honestly.
Carrie, the number of Jewish people would complain about anti-Semitic is probably higher than that. In any case, we have to move on.
Which is also terrible. Let's be really clear.
Of course, absolutely. Angela says Islamophobia is a real problem. We need to crack down on it. Echoing what you're saying. Meanwhile, Joan says we should ban hijabs. This is a Christian country. Keep those views coming in.
Which would be an Islamophobic view on this definition.
Exactly that.
I don't know what the definition is. How can you possibly say that?
Because your party signed up to a definition in advance, which would say...
Which is completely different to this.
Oh, so you resile from the position you had before the election when you went to the electorate?
No, I'm saying the APP definition to which you're referring is very different to this, which is being discussed at the moment, and we don't know what it is.
You think you were wrong at the last election?
I'm not saying that. Stop trying to put words into my mouth. I'm saying this is a separate definition.
In any case, we have to move on, as a brilliant debate used to. Thank you very much for that. Coming up, jobless benefits have surged to record highs under Labour as the PM's plans to get Britain working well and truly failed. But we have some breaking news for you. Dramatic background? No? OK. While we've been on air, wait for it, you're not going to believe this, Taylor Swift has got engaged to Travis Kelce. Yeah, breaking news banner. Got engaged to Travis Kelce. Just thought you should know. Breaking news. We're here at the Crack of the News. See you soon.
This is our country, and we think it's amazing. From high tea to the high street, we love it all. Even the rain, we like that too. There's nowhere else we'd rather be. That's why we're here to be the fearless champion of Britain, its voices and its values. Because we are GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country. There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor. Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dewberry, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk
No,
now?
that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back. This is Jubes and Co with me, Dawn Neeson. And keep those messages coming in, by the way, especially the ones about Taylor Swift. Huh? Get a life. Sorry. Keep me company until 7 o'clock. I've got a brilliant panel. Political consultant Alex Dean and Sebastian Saleh, Labour councillor for Waltham Forest, who, according to you lot out there, has lovely hair. Now, a record 6.5 million Brits are now on jobless benefits, rising by 500,000 since, Labour came into power. And that's despite the Prime Minister's pledge to get Britain working again. Remember that one. I'm actually going to come to you first on this one, Alex. I mean, the jobless numbers are through the roof. Labour promised they would get us all working, but they have actually rocketed under this government at the moment. What is going on here?
Yeah, I think when you get statistics this bad, it's generally not just one thing, it's several things at once. And of course, I think part of it is hiking national insurance contribution by employers, which is a tax on jobs. So people who might once have thought about hiring 10 people hire 6 or 7. And the aggregate effect, because of the increased cost of hiring per head, and the aggregate effect of that across the workforce is highly negative. And indeed, people who weren't thinking about hiring many more people, but lose people and don't think about replacing them, or look at their workforce and think, can we shrink it a bit? And so that negative effect is really, if you're picking something to do, and I understand why she did it, because there were certain other taxes they'd promised not to do before the election, but it's just about as bad a thing you can do for jobs in the arsenal of the Treasury. So hiking the cost of employing people is definitely one of the things that this government, I think, has done wrong. But the second is, it just seems like we're not closely examining enough, and both political parties say they're going to do this, but then don't, closely examining enough claims to go on to benefits in the first place. And if people think that sounds harsh, think about the fact that these numbers have rocketed in 2 years. We're not that much sicker. As a society, we simply, I know people will point to COVID and long COVID and so forth. We are genuinely not that much sicker as a society, especially because so many of these things are effectively unquantifiable or unprovable to the medical profession, like mental health issues, which people claim and therefore can't be told that they're wrong on. It's not like a broken arm or a broken leg, and will often go on to the sick. And the biggest trouble is that the majority of people being signed off are still being signed off, Dawn, for life. Not just, for a stated period of time. It's once you're on the sick, the state will expect to leave you there. And that's as bad for them as it is for society.
Sebastian, what do you think? I mean, many of these include young people who have signed off because of mental health issues, a vast number. But the benefits bill for working people is £123 billion a year. We can't carry on like this.
We can't, and there is a consensus here that this is not working. It's not working for taxpayers who are paying into this system, and it's not working for the people who receive welfare either. It's not a fun thing to do. People want to be out there working, living fulfilling lives. I do think the pandemic has a role to play in the mental health crisis. I also think, and I'd like to see us having a wider conversation about that and diagnosing it earlier, because mental health is often a slow burn. You don't become incapable of working the day that develops. But if we can have a wider national conversation about what that looks like, I think it's just something that as Brits we're quite bad at, and I'd like to see that change.
Do you think that everybody signed off with mental health issues genuinely has mental health issues, or do you think we're over-medicalising the fact that, the stresses and strains of everyday life, the fact that we're a bit anxious, we're a bit sad?
But even being anxious and sad is something we should take seriously, because it snowballs. So it's about getting in there early, fixing those problems before they get to a stage where you think I can't work.
You think those people should be paid to stay off work, even if they're just feeling a little bit sad?
Well, I don't think people are getting paid to be a little bit sad. It's when it snowballs to the point where it's serious, because we haven't tackled it at the early stage. That is what we're missing here.
Look, here's the basic thing that people seem to be missing in this conversation. 2.6, 2.7 million people were on universal credit and didn't have to find a job when we had the election last year. That number has gone up a full million. 3.7 million people in this country now. It's just, that's just terrible economic management and terrible management of the system, whichever way you want to look at it. And the number of people on universal, despite all that increase, the number of people on universal credit who are required to look for a job has gone down. So the number of people on universal credit has ballooned. The number of them we expect to ever come back to the workforce has gone down.
Well, we're signing people off for life. How can that make sense?
And there are some really odd incentives out there, and that's why I think right to try, in particular, from this government is a really promising thing to do, allowing disabled people to try working without risking losing their benefits. It's encouraging people, it's giving the right incentives to get back into the workforce if they feel they're able to do it, and that's better for everybody. It's better for employers, it's better for the economy as a whole, and it's better for disabled people who want to work.
Do you think Rachel Reeves should have stuck to her guns and gone through with the actual, we are going to sort our own personal independence payment benefit system out? Or do you think they were right to back down on it?
I just think it was politically impossible in the end, and that was... I can understand why the rebels rebelled, but it was counterproductive, and I worry that the impact on people is going to be greater in the long term as a result.
You may get a very interesting agreement here, because I think it did become politically impossible. I think the Labour Party exhausted a huge amount of political capital to get back to where they started, which was facing a benefits bill they couldn't afford, in part because of their own actions, but a benefits bill they couldn't afford. But my party, the Conservatives, were not sufficiently fleet of foot, because we should have said to them, looks like you got 100 rebels. Interesting. 120 of us, not that many, but could be quite useful on this. Tories, we should have offered to vote with them, right? And then if it had succeeded, for the rest of the Parliament, Labour got through their agenda on Tory votes. And if they refused, then, well, they put party above country, didn't they? But we missed the opportunity.
You did miss quite a few opportunities, to be fair, didn't you?
Which is one of the ones I'm highlighting at the moment.
The thing I can't understand, Sebastian, I mean, you know, Labour came in for the working people, but they seem to do everything within their power to stop people working, signing people off by life. We've also got the national insurance payments for companies, and we've got Rachel Reeves's, Angela Rayner's, rather, working reforms coming in about people being able to claim benefits from day one.
Well, these aren't benefits from day one. These are rights from day one. This is things like sick pay or not to be unfairly dismissed from day one.
Do you think that will maybe encourage people to swing the lead a bit more?
No, I think it will give people the rights that they deserve in work. At the moment, the dial has shifted very much in favour of employers, as it has been for decades.
Hello?
I would like to see...
Seriously, you think the dial has shifted in the position of employers?
No, it's going to make it less likely that people hire individuals in the first place.
This is a Labour government. It's there for working people, and it's there to improve their rights in the workplace. It polls incredibly well. It's a really popular policy.
Sebastian,
so you're going to have a very difficult time trying to convince voters that it's not one for them.
How can you claim this is a government for working people when fewer people are in work?
Because I'm talking you through the policies that are there to make it easier to work and to make it more pleasant to be in the workplace. Being able to take paternity or maternity leave, being able to take sick pay from day one. These are basic rights that we are long overdue as a country, and I'm really glad to see Labour out for working people.
But there are less people out of work.
That is true. Because of a system that Labour inherited that is broken, and I've told you it's broken. I agree it's broken. Of course they inherited it. It didn't appear out of the ether in July 2024, did it?
But since Labour have been in, it's gone up to a record, 6.5 million.
And I'm not saying that's a good thing. It's definitely a problem, and it definitely needs to be dealt with. I don't think anybody would disagree with that.
In any case, coming up...
The only way we will stop the boats is by detaining and deporting absolutely anyone that comes via that route.
Yes, Nigel Farage unveils Reform UK's migration plan to deport illegal migrants and scrap asylum rights. Don't want to miss that one. See you soon.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello. Well, there's plenty of sunny spells across Europe, but also some widespread thunderstorms developing. So across much of Madeira and the Canary Islands, a few showers here and breezy. Across Spain, fine with plenty of sunshine. But here are those thunderstorms with the risk of hail and lightning. Across Greece, much of the country seeing plenty of sunshine here. And as we go through the week, there'll still be some showers around, but also plenty of sunshine still, and temperatures up to 33.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Good evening. This is your latest GB News weather update coming to you from the Met Office. Most places are going to have a largely dry night with today's showers largely dying out. However, there is a weather system out in the Atlantic that's heading our way, and it's going to bring a spell of pretty heavy and perhaps even thundery rain for many places as we go through tomorrow. Before that though, like I said, a largely dry night across many spots, just a few showers, particularly towards the north and west. Under the dry, clearer weather, things may turn a little fresh for some of us. That being said, most towns and cities holding up in double digits. Just a few rural spots could just about fall into single figures. And then it's a largely fine start to the day for many places. Across much of Scotland, there will be a good deal of sunshine early on, just a few showery bursts here or there, particularly around some central areas. There could be a couple of showers and they could be a little bit on the heavy side. A different story for Northern Ireland though. That weather system I highlighted here, it is going to be bringing a pretty wet start to the day, and there could be some gusty winds, maybe even some rumbles of thunder mixed in with it as well. Similar across parts of Western Wales, southwest England, an unsettled start here. Elsewhere across much of England though, it's a fine picture through much of the morning, but that whole frontal system is going to march its way eastwards across the whole of the country. So most of us will see a spell of heavy rain, and there could be some thunder, some gusty winds mixed in. The further east you are, the later it's going to arrive. With the slightly more unsettled weather, temperatures are going to be down a couple of degrees and feeling a little bit fresher as well compared to today. Then into Thursday, and it's a bit of a westy split. Eastern parts having a lot of fine weather still. Further west, a greater chance of some frequent showers, and these could be heavy, perhaps even thundery, and a few of those showers will push their way towards the east as well. Another showery day likely on Friday and on Saturday, but that does bring the potential for some heavier rain, perhaps in the southwest.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good evening. This is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. Motorists southbound on the A90 near Teeling should exercise caution due to an incident. The M4 westbound exit at junction 40 in Tybush is closed. Diversions are in place. The M18 southbound in Doncaster has one lane closed between junctions 3 and 2 due to a broken down vehicle. 2 lanes are closed on the M69 northbound near the M1 with 10-minute delays. The A36 northbound faces 30-minute delays in Wiltshire. And on the trains, cross-country services are disrupted between Plymouth and Liskeard. East Midlands Railway faces issues between Kettering and Leicester. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Hello, welcome back. This is Jubes and Co with me, Dawn Neeson. Keeping me company until 7 o'clock is Alex and Sebastian still. You know who they are by now. I'm not going to worry about that bit. Now, let's talk Nigel Farage, shall we? His pledge to lead the European Convention on Human Rights, repeal the Human Rights Act and scrap roadblocks to deportations as he puts immigration at the centre of his political platform. Have a listen.
The only way we will stop the boats is by detaining and deporting absolutely anyone that comes via that route. And if we do that, the boats will stop coming within days. If you come to the UK illegally, you will be detained and deported and never, ever allowed to stay, period.
But former Attorney General Dominic Grieve says the courts will block this using common law. Ooh, you knew that was coming, didn't you? OK, so let's come to you first, Sebastian. Makes perfect sense. If you come here illegally, you're straight back out.
It sounds so simple, doesn't it? If only you could wave a magic wand and it would work. But the point is, it doesn't even have to work.
America seems to do it.
Well, America, let's talk about America, has an issue from...
Let's talk about this here first.
OK, because I think America is a big false equivalence. But here, I would argue it doesn't even matter if this works or not, because the aim of today is not to announce a policy that is going to go and be enacted. The aim of today is to win the next election, is to convince enough people that this is the way forward.
Isn't that the point of politics, to win the next election?
It is, but it also allows you to put forward policies that may or may not work. We don't know. And what I'm trying to make is it doesn't really matter. It's about bringing people on board. It's always these policies that are so simple, obvious and wrong. And I would really...
Why is it wrong? Why is it wrong?
Well, there are so many potential issues with this, from the fallout of pulling out of ECHR to what it looks like to negotiate these countries and the reality of getting deals with them, and also the ethics
putting
of...
British people first. That was the main thrust of pretty much everything Nigel Farage said. We are going to put British people first.
Which is a wonderful slogan, and I don't think anybody would disagree that British people should be put first in Britain, if you include everybody who lives here as a resident. I think that's a really inclusive thing to say. But what does that also mean in his definition? Arresting women and children, putting them in camps. When has putting women and children in camps ever been the right thing to do in our history? I can't think of a single example. I would really, really feel quite uncomfortable about a lot of what's coming out today.
You don't think a woman should be detained if she's come here unlawfully?
I think she should be processed. And I think her claim should be either deemed viable or inviolable, and then she should be dealt with.
She's processed, she's not detained.
Well, while she's being processed, she has to be housed, as she currently is. I don't think we have the perfect system at the moment. I don't think hotels are the right thing. But talking about camps and using that kind of language, that is the kind of language that refers back to things that happened in the past that I don't even want to talk about. And politicians know that, and they are willingly whipping up that kind of fear.
You'll recall that asylum seekers in this country were housed on a former military base. I suppose you might call it a camp, and said they were unhappy with the accommodation, which had, I think, just been vacated by the Gurkhas. But apparently it wasn't good enough for them. Perhaps we shouldn't call it a camp, I suppose. Look, Farage is right that the only way you stop the boats is deport people coming on them. He's also, in my view, right that you've got to leave the European Convention on Human Rights to do it. But I'm afraid Sebastian is right. The next election is some 4 years away. This isn't Farage having a meaningful policy that might get enacted. You've got 4 MPs right now. It's Farage setting the political weather, and he's very, very successful at it. But I will make the point I always make on this channel. It's a bit weird talking about this like it's a normal political discussion when he is the presenter about to present on the next show.
Well, I'm not sure that he is tonight, to be honest with you.
OK, generally would be. How's that?
But, well, I mean, yeah. But, I mean, the problem is, yeah, he's setting the agenda, but this is how parties win elections. They set an agenda. And is Farage actually setting an agenda, or is he reflecting what people in this country are thinking?
A bit of both. And you're right, the public opinion has moved on this quite significantly. I don't think even a year or two ago this issue was, people like to trendily call it salience, but I don't think it was in people's minds in anything like the same way. And in part, that's because the numbers are higher. You know, Starmer went through the 50,000 mark on people coming on small boats. In my view, unlawfully coming, asylum seeker or would-be refugees coming by boats faster than any other Prime Minister. He made 50k. And I was trying to think of what that meant. I grew up in a market town called Bury St Edmunds, and the population of that town is smaller than the number of people who've come on boats just since Keir Starmer has been our Prime Minister. Everyone I knew growing up, my first 18 years of life, everyone I knew, smaller number than those who've come on those boats. And that's what have made it real to me. It's a remarkably high number. And of course, faced with those numbers, Starmer and Co feel like they've got to do something about it. And they are being tougher on this than any Labour government in the past. The trouble for them is they're not just being anything like tough enough for the populace.
Well, they're not stopping the boat, Sebastian. I mean, do you think this is Nigel Farage whipping things up, or is he representing a general groundswell of anger in this country?
I mean, it's both. He spent all summer whipping up fears and tensions around Epping, around everything else.
Maybe you don't think that fear and anger was already there?
I think there is some fear and anger there, but when you talk about it and you talk about Tinderbox Britain and you say, oh, is there going to be some kind of an uprising? You talk about civil war and use language like that. I'm not necessarily saying that he has used that language, but it's coming out of vast swathes of the right-wing media and right-wing commentators. I would be really wary of egging that stuff on. But the reality is, if there is some kind of an uprising, if there is some kind of dissent, that plays into Reform's hands really well. Remember, they're a party who advocate for pulling down institutions rather than reforming
them. Are you implying that he kind of wants an uprising? He wants some sort of dissent?
I don't know whether he wants it. What I'm saying is that if it does happen...
You said it would be helpful.
It would be helpful. It would be helpful.
So therefore implying that maybe this is edging...
I wouldn't impugn his motives at all. I'm not saying you were, but I wouldn't impugn his motives like that. I think that would be really unfair. But what I do take issue with is the sense that, oh, this wouldn't be a thing if the right-wing media weren't talking about it. You put enough asylum seekers or would-be refugees in hotels, you put enough of them in houses of multiple occupation with nothing to do, vast majority young men parked in people's towns, they'll have an issue, and they don't care if you call them right-wing for having an issue.
Right, OK, we are going to move on, though. So, following the ruling to close Epping's migrant hotel, Broxbourne Council, which is next to the Epping borough, are pushing for the same result. The Delta Marriott Hotel in Cheshunt has housed asylum seekers since 2022, with councillors opposed from the outset. Joining me now is Conservative MP for Broxbourne, Lewis Cocking, who posted an open letter on X last week petitioning to close Cheshunt's migrant hotel. Thank you very much for joining me. Have you had any response to your letter, Lewis?
To be honest with you, I don't expect a response. The Home Office are notoriously difficult to get answers out. Even ministers on the floor of the House can't even tell me how many people coming over have criminal records. So I don't expect to get any information out of the Home Office at all. But that doesn't mean I won't stop fighting for the hotel to be closed and won't stop standing up for my constituents in Broxbourne.
And what are your constituents saying to you? Are they worried about this hotel? Are they worried about the migrants from the Epping hotel being moved into the area?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Epping's only just down the road, and there's been some horrific events that have happened in Epping, and we do not want anyone from the Bell Hotel to be moved into the Delta Marriott Hotel. I've got no information over if people have been moved from Epping yet and where they're going to. I've asked the Home Office for that information, and I will publish that as and when I get that. Look, people are very concerned. When I go out and speak to ordinary people that live in Broxbourne, it's raised on the doorstep 9 times out of 10 with me. People are fed up, and they've really had enough, and it was a big issue for me locally in the general election, and I said I was going to fight tooth and nail until this hotel's closed. When I was leader of the council, I managed to get 2 other facilities not even opened that the government were considering to house asylum seekers in. So I've got a strong track record on this, and we from the outset have said it's the complete wrong location for to housing illegal asylum seekers.
And have you had any incidents? Is there any reports of sex attacks or anything like that?
We haven't had any reports from there. Anecdotally, there's lots of information coming around. We've got a retail park that's just down the road. I have lots of people contact my office about what they see goes on at the retail park from people that they suspect come from the hotel. And we feed all of that information into the police. I mean, I'm not there to do law and order and to say who's guilty and not guilty, but everyone that contacts my office, we feed that into the local police, and it's up for the local police to make sure anyone that commits any crime is brought to justice.
Lewis, in your letter, you actually said you were concerned about unvetted men from barbaric cultures. We've just been talking about the rhetoric around this conversation. Do you think that is dangerous rhetoric and that could be inciting people to take action against the hotel and civil unrest?
There are some people within some cultures throughout the world that don't treat women as equally as what we do in the United Kingdom, and I don't think that's right. As I said, when I go out to speak to ordinary people that live in my constituency, it is raised with me near enough every conversation. Everybody from all walks of life wants to see an end to illegal immigration and wants to see the hotel closed.
Lewis, thank you very much for joining me. That's Conservative MP for Broxbourne, Lewis Cocking there. Sebastian, just quickly coming to you on the language that Lewis used in his letter. Unvetted men from barbaric cultures. This is why we are seeing women in pink. They're not right-wing thugs. They are concerned mothers, grandmothers with their daughters and their granddaughters.
Yeah, and
is he right to use that language?
Well, full credit to you for putting that to him. I don't think that is helpful language to be using. Yes, there are some isolated concerns. We've seen tragic attacks happen, allegedly, I should say. They're still going through the court process. Yeah. And those should be dealt with individually. But to tar every asylum seeker with that brush and to use language like barbaric cultures, it's just not conducive to the public debate.
But do you not accept there are some cultures that do not respect the rights of women in the same way as we do in this country?
Oh, of course. There are a lot of cultures there are a lot of countries in the world that have much harsher laws towards women, and I hate that, frankly. I really, really hate that. But if you look at the thread that runs through every person who commits a sex attack, it is largely because they are men. That is the theme we see here, and we don't talk about that.
No one's denying the fact that we men are sex attackers, absolutely, and rapists. That by definition, you have to be a man to be a rapist. But why we've got that problem in here? But why do we have to import more?
Well, we're not necessarily importing them. We are accepting them as they come in. We are processing their claims. If their claims are successful, and we should say that the number of successful claims has dropped quite drastically, particularly from people from countries like Afghanistan, then they are granted asylum, they're allowed to stay. If they are not granted asylum, then they have to go elsewhere and they have to leave our country. That is the process we've signed up for. That is what forward-thinking, proud, world-leading countries do, because it is our duty.
Alex, you want to come back on this?
I thought the thing that struck me most in Lewis Cocking's letter, of course, anyone would expect the local member of Parliament, especially in opposition when opposing the government's policy of the day, is de rigueur, even if it's largely speaking what your party was doing when it was in government last year, which is what the hotel policy they've inherited.
But it's a Conservative policy.
Yeah, so I'm just being open about the fact you can expect him to criticise it and say we shouldn't have this hotel here. I thought, and completely understandable given they're closing the one next door, and if enough councils get their act together, the government will find itself stymied at a local level because enough authorities have said no. Even if the national policy is to do one thing on the ground, the local authorities have said do another, very much with the support of their residents, by the way. But the thing that struck me most in his letter wasn't actually about that. It was restating his view that all illegal immigrants should be deported. And so he's not restricting himself to small boats, he's not restricting himself to asylum seekers or would-be refugees. He's saying that all illegal migrants to this country should be deported. That's a view with which I agree, and it's a view, I think, with which the majority of the public will agree. And until mainstream parties embrace and start talking like that, you don't have to go to the barbaric bit to make that kind of point. They will always be out-Faraged, and Farage will always beat them until it's the Home Secretary saying all illegal migrants will be deported.
Which should be the case? Quickly? If you're here illegally, you should be sent back. No question.
No one should be here illegally. But the problem is we are using the term illegal migrant to refer to genuine asylum seekers, and that's where the waters get muddied.
If they enter here illegally, they're illegal.
Because the Tories changed the law, but they have the right to claim asylum, and that's really, really important.
Because we have to move on.
That's why we should leave the European Convention on Human Rights, which makes a mockery of international human rights law and says you can go across 20 or 30 safe countries before you get here. Bonkers.
OK, coming up, Trump threatens flag burners with a year in prison. Have a look.
And you burn a flag, you get 1 year in jail. You don't get 10 years, you don't get 1 month. You get 1 year in jail, and it goes on your record. And you will see flag burning stopping immediately.
Tough talk. So, should the UK follow suit and protect the Union flag, or indeed the Cross St George? All of that coming up. We'll see you soon.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Miriam, you can't be serious. Scrapping the triple lock on state pensions? Madness.
Andrew, we just can't carry on pretending. The numbers just don't add up. We've got to be honest with people. We've got to face the facts. That's what people want.
Well, that's what you get on GB News and on Britain's Newsroom. Lively debates, lively conversation.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first, and we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Minutes.
Hello, welcome back to Jubes and Co with me, Dawn Neeson. Keeping me company, I still have Alex Dean and Sebastian Salek. And we are talking flags because it's been at the topic of conversation for quite a while now, but there's a new line to it. Donald Trump has signed an executive order ordering federal prosecutors to crack down on anyone who burns the American flag. Have a look.
And you burn a flag, you get 1 year in jail. You don't get 10 years, you don't get 1 month. You get 1 year in jail, and it goes on your record. And you will see flag burning stopping immediately.
We'll see. Meanwhile, here in the UK, people are tearing down St George's flags. Have a look at this. OK, so should we maybe make it a criminal offence to treat our flag in that way? Alex, let's come to you first on that one. Those three girls by the lamppost, I don't know where their heads were, to be honest with you. What were they on?
Most likely stupid, but it is really telling, isn't it, and quite perverse, that the sign of protest and rebellion in our country is flying our own flag. And that's how we demonstrate how we're unhappy with the state of society. But Trump's done something very interesting here, where he puts his opponent on the wrong side of a political issue. Because in the United States, flag burning is hugely unpopular. So the American Civil Liberties Union will go to the mattresses and say this is a free speech issue, you should be able to burn the flag, but most Americans think they shouldn't. So if you're going to disagree with the president, which is the Democrat shtick, they find themselves on the wrong side of the issue. The second reason it's so hard for them is that this was Hillary Clinton's policy. She opposed flag burning when she was in the Senate, right? So it's difficult. If they think that flag burning is now A-OK, why was Hillary Clinton wrong, their former candidate for the presidency, against Donald Trump when she championed it? And the third problem they've got is that so many people on the left believe that burning the pride flag is a hate crime. Now, if burning the pride flag is a hate crime, then why is burning the American flag an act of free speech? So he has just done them up like a kipper on three grounds here.
Clever.
Really unpopular. It's Hillary Clinton's policy and the pride flag issue. So well played, Donald Trump.
He does do that quite a bit, doesn't he? Sebastian, I mean, we saw those three young women jumping on the English flag. I mean, I'm not suggesting we, throw them in jail because we haven't got any room for a start, but what is so wrong with our flags?
Well, Dawn, I know I'm the token lefty on this panel, but I'm going to say two things that I think most of our viewers would agree with. Love a flag. Love a flag.
Love a flag.
Really love freedom of expression as well. The unfortunate result of that is that we have to allow some people to deface our flag if we are to have freedom of expression. Watching that clip just now, I felt a little pang in my stomach. I was really uncomfortable with that, didn't like it at all. I think we probably all felt the same way. But it is just part and parcel of it. If we were going to have these rights, it sometimes means people doing things that we really, really dislike.
I agree with that. The cost for those young women burning those flags, the cost is that I think less of them and you think less of them, and society thinks less of them, and their friends, if they see it, think you're an idiot. I don't think it should be a criminal prosecution for it.
Why do people have a problem with our flags, though? I know you don't personally, but why is there a problem with flying, as Alex has just said, the flag of our country? Whether obviously the Union flag or if you're in England, the cross of St George.
Yeah, I think it goes back to the fact that we have quite a shy flavour of patriotism in this country. We're not the Americans. We don't fly our flags a lot. We do it a bit at the football.
The Scottish love flying their flag. The Welsh love flying their flag. What's wrong with the English?
But he's right, and it's a specifically English issue.
It is, and the consequence of it is that those who fly the flag most loudly and proudly, sadly, are often people on the far right. And that is a problem because it means that that flag then gets associated with the far right. I don't think there's anything new or controversial there. But what I want to see us do is claim that back. If we can all do it brilliantly, we can neutralise it, and it can be something that we can all be proud of. Because patriotism is about nothing if not bringing people together, and our flag should be able to do that.
I don't mind people being on different sides of this debate. What I don't like is hypocrisy. And when I see a local authority saying that you can't fly an English flag because it's a danger to traffic and it'll distract people, but they were totally fine having a Palestine flag on the same lamppost month after month, that's when I call nonsense.
Yeah, during the break, I was telling you, I live in Tower Hamlets. We had the Palestinian flag up for months and months and months, but as soon as someone hung the English flag up, it was damaging the lamppost.
I was talking about Birmingham, so obviously happening in at least two places.
Well, that's it. And in our law, it is for councils to decide what goes on their lampposts. But you're right, it has to be consistent.
Yeah, brilliant. OK, thank you very much, both of you. A brilliant show, as always. But don't you dare go too far, because I was wrong. It is actually the one and only Nigel Farage, and this is going to be a very interesting show, isn't it? Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon. Take care.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good evening. This is your latest GB News weather update coming to you from the Met Office. Most places are going to have a largely dry night, with today's showers largely dying out. However, there is a weather system out in the Atlantic that's heading our way, and it's going to bring a spell of pretty heavy and perhaps even thundery rain for many places as we go through tomorrow. Before that, though, like I said, a largely dry night across many spots, just a few showers, particularly towards the north and west. Under the dry, clearer weather, things may turn a little fresh for some of us. That being said, most towns and cities holding up in double digits. Just a few rural spots could just about fall into single figures. And then it's a largely fine start to the day for many places. Across much of Scotland, there will be a good deal of sunshine early on. Just a few showery bursts here or there, particularly around some central areas. There could be a couple of showers, and they could be a little bit on the heavy side. A different story for Northern Ireland, though. That weather system I highlighted here, it is going to be bringing a pretty wet start to the day, and there could be some gusty winds, maybe even some rumbles of thunder mixed in with it as well. Similar across parts of Western Wales, southwest England, an unsettled start here. Elsewhere across much of England, though, it's a fine picture through much of the morning, but that whole frontal system is going to march its way eastwards across the whole of the country. So most of us will see a spell of heavy rain, and there could be some thunder, some gusty winds mixed in. The further east you are, the later it's going to arrive. With the slightly more unsettled weather, temperatures are going to be down a couple of degrees and feeling a little bit fresher as well compared to today. Then into Thursday, and it's a bit of a westy split. Eastern parts having a lot of fine weather still. Further west, a greater chance of some frequent showers, and these could be heavy, perhaps even thundery, and a few of those showers will push their way towards the east as well. Another showery day likely on Friday and on Saturday, but that does bring the potential for some heavier rain, perhaps in the southwest.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good evening. This is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. On the M4 southbound near Doncaster, drivers face a 90-minute delay. A broken down vehicle closes the M6 southbound near Warrington, normalising tonight.